from spoke to Paul McCartney earlier this week at the Plaza Hotel in New York.
We waited for you, and our crew, our camera people here, our sound people, they know more about you and your life than they know about their own brothers. They even know what size shoes you wear. Now, does that seem logical to you that people care so much about you? Your life is like their own history.
It doesn't seem logical, but...
Are they crazy? Are they paying attention to you?
No,
and shouldn't?
They're just like me. I mean, I'm a fan of people. I used to wait outside the stage door, you know, for Frankie Lane. Dates me, doesn't it? But no, that's true. I used to do that, and you used to get some kids that say, oh, you know, so-and-so's really lousy, you just brush past us all and stuff. So I saw it from that angle before I actually entered into show business myself. So I always thought, well, you know, if I can, I'll try and treat people okay, you know, because I remember how I got treated.
This new movie, Give My Regards to Broad Street, it gives off something that says Paul McCartney is rich enough that if he wants to make this movie about himself, he's jolly well going to. Is that how it started? Are you rich enough to do whatever you want, not have to look for a backer, not have to ask nobody?
Well, I don't know, really. I suppose, you know, if I wanted to do that, I could. But in actual fact, this got started, I did actually fund it myself when we started, because it was going to be a movie for TV originally. And it was quite a low budget as far as films are concerned. Anyway, as far as people are concerned, it's a ridiculous amount of money. But
can you indulge yourself?
No, the thing is, no matter how much an individual has, he can't afford a Heaven's Gate. Whereas the film companies can. They just lose it, and their next picture is a biggie. You know, Star Wars pays for Heaven's Gate or whatever it is. I don't know what studio has each.
Your old gag, let's write this song so we can buy a house. Okay, let's write this song so we can buy a car. Let's buy this song so we can buy a pool. What drives you now? In
truth, that was a gag. You know, it was true that while John and I were sitting down...
But it bought you a couple of houses.
Pool, too. No, it's true, when John and I were sitting down, because we were young guys and weren't used to money, one of the factors was that we would say, you know, let's write a pool. And that was great. It was a good motivating thing. But in truth, it wasn't the main motivating factor. We wanted to be artists. We were kind of bohemian-type students at the time. You know, a lot of people were. And it was the art of it that we were really involved in. But incidentally, it bought a pool, you know, so we latched onto that aspect and we'd say, okay, you know, now let's write a bus. You know, so we had fun with that idea. But in actual fact, it wasn't the main thing. So now, the money aspect isn't the incentive. It's really just that I still enjoy to do it as much as I ever did.
But that's what I'm picking up, is that you've got to survive, that you've got to last. You just can't stand going Greta Garbo.
No, I really wouldn't get any pleasure from that, you know. Around about the breakup of the Beatles, it became a possibility. You know, a lot of people did say, well, you've done it, no problem, just hang out for the rest of your life, kind of thing, you know. But I would have written a song, and once I'd written a song, I would have wanted to record it. I wouldn't just want to leave it. And once I'd recorded it, I want to go and promote it, and so then the whole cycle starts again. It's just something I know how to do. I'm comfortable with it. I think if a carpenter retires, it doesn't mean he stops loving wood.
You know how many theories there are about why the Beatles broke up. I bet you, how many have you heard? 35?
One or two.
You got too rich, you got too isolated, you got too tired. Lennon got too radical. What's your version?
That we'd come full circle. It was actually kind of a 10-year period, the main thing. It was a surprisingly short time, really, I thought. But we started off in Liverpool, and we wanted to go and be famous, wanted to write a lot of songs and have a lot of success everywhere, which is basically everyone's aim. You know, any group starts up, that's pretty much what they all want. So we wanted to do that. Once we'd done that, and once we'd conquered places like North America and stuff like that, I think we began to feel that we'd done it, and that all we were now going to go into was just do it twice. And for the Beatles and the whole thing, I think people started to think, we don't really want to do that. And I think the other factor was that we were also getting to the age when most people leave the army and get married, or leave the club.
You're bringing in the wicked women here. The wicked women who broke up the Beatles.
Let's bring them in. Bring in the broads. What is it? No, so I think the point was that during the Beatles was the only relationship we were really had time for. And we tried other relationships, but they'd end in divorces for the other guys, and breakups and stuff. Because you couldn't really compete. No women could compete with the Beatles.
That was just a joke, bring in the broads, right? But God, it must have been wild.
Yeah, it was wild. Sure. Next question. She wants to draw me on this. How wild? And just what form did this wild take?
I'm thinking of something that you said about you and your own wife, that you'd sowed so many wild oats you were prepared to be quiet.
Yeah, well, that was true. Like a lot of people of my generation. I mean, let's face it, for a young man, heterosexual young man, that's what you're after. Let's not try and kid people around here. That's what you go to clubs for. You don't go for the food. And
this is your reason that you've given for not going on tour. That the only point of going on tour is to attract women.
No, not going to clubs. I've given that reason why I don't go to nightclubs and discos now. Because the main reason I went was to find women, to be with my own peer group, And when you get married, it depends who you are, but in my case, that knocked all of that on the head. I wouldn't dare she'd get a rolling pin out, she'd kill me.
Did something that belonged to you and still belongs to you, or you may feel still belongs to you, die with John Lennon? A possibility of becoming Rodgers and Hammerstein, of having a mutually inspiring relationship, partnership, business and writing partnership for your whole life?
Well, that actually died a few years before John died. We'd stopped writing together a few years before that. So the collaboration thing stopped with the end of the Beatles, which was about 10 years before he died. So I'd got used to having lost that. And yes, something did die when you've got as good a collaborator as John.
But then he started saying those nasty things about you, that you'd become an Engelbert Humperdinck, that you were a bore.
It's true, yeah.
Did you ever reconcile?
Muzak, that was another.
Are you still a little hurt that you didn't get a chance to clean that up?
A little? You kidding? When someone like John Lennon says you're Muzak? Yeah, it was very hurtful. But one thing I knew about John was that he shut his mouth off very often about things. So that there was a point that, and he deliberately wanted to say crummy things about me.
Why?
He was hurt. He later explained it by saying that I'd kind of hurt him over some things, and it was kind of bitchy. He just had to do that, it's fine. And at the time I thought, well, I should really answer all of this. But I thought, no, it's really going to get crazy if I start answering him, then we're going to be talking through newspapers at each other and really bitching,
But now it's up presumably to what? To only Yoko Ono can tell you, oh no, John really liked you. I mean, that must feel very
Well, no, I know that anyway. No, I know that anyway. I say it doesn't mean I didn't get hurt when he said hurtful things about me, but I knew from my relationship with him that the kind of person John was he was quite likely to say that about anyone, but not necessarily likely to mean it. He often said things he didn't mean. And I know that when he died, that was one of the great things Yoko did for me, was that she took me aside, kind of said, he did love you. She was gracious enough to do that for me, So that was great.
So this hurt. This is...
Sure did, baby. Yeah, I mean, it'd hurt you, if I start slagging your clothes off right now. Nobody needs that. And when it's from your best friend, it hurts, But as I say, I know I'm not Muzak. Well, I am, actually. Every time the plane lands, or whatever. But I mean, what I mean is, in the way he meant it, that my music is only at the level of kind of crummy music. I know that's not true.
The trouble is, I suspect, it started a trend that a lot of people say, I used to love him, now he's insipid, now he's puerile. I suppose it's sort of, to be absolutely absurd, like saying to Einstein, hey, what are you going to do after E equals MC squared? But they're really saying, I don't like what you do now. I want something else.
So those are the people who don't buy my records, and that's fine. There were people at the Beatles who said, I really don't like that. I prefer Mozart. That's cool. But I mean, the thing is, the answer would be I would have to not do well then if they'd all turned against me. The thing is, you know...
But you're not afraid to be commercial. That seems to be your answer.
Just the opposite. I mean, I'm proud to be commercial. See, you think about it. What other way do I have to know that it's working, what I do? Well, I go out in the street and take Gallup polls everywhere? No, it's the only way is actually that you see people go into shops of their own volition and say, can I have his record, please? If they think I'm puerile, they wouldn't do that.
Thank you. Thanks a lot.
You're welcome.